Hey folks, Shelby here from Village Carpentry. I promised Ollie Guns that I'd do a review of these round bottomed compact plate compactors, and so here it is. This is obviously, if you look on my channel, it's only my second review, still getting the hang of talking to the camera and all that fun stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's to just sort of go through the basics of this plate compactor. This is a Weber. Let's see, it's a Weber, it's a CFR 90, and it's the same, I think, basically as the Husqvarna model. It's the same number, so I assume it's probably the same plate size. So it's pretty narrow. It's not, you know, it's not going to fit in the trench of like a 8-inch bucket if you're going to do something like water lines or something like that. You know, it's still not it's obviously not a rammer. It's a plate compactor. It's really, I got it because I do a lot of piers and things like that, so I'm doing a lot of compacting around small objects that want a smaller hole, but I also then in the end, you know, want to do the plate compacting at the top layer and make everything nice and smooth. And so this is a really good sort of intermediate, you know, bring one tool to the job kind of situation. It, you know, does great on the sandy stuff, does great on gravel. Obviously, it's a plate compactor. If it's muddy, you know, it'll sink just like any other compactor, and so, you know, it doesn't really do great if there's too much water in the soil. But yeah, so just a few more basics about it. It's got a good old Honda engine, obviously super reliable, super straightforward. Functions like anything else. Got on, off, choke, oil. Now, cool thing about these are a lot of new compactors are moving this way. Instead of having you lean over for the throttle, it's got a throttle up here, which is really nice. You know, so when you're coming to a stop or something like that, you know, you've got it at full throttle. You just pop, done. Stops, goes back to an idle, no problem. So that's a super nice feature of this. And here it is, CFR 90, right there on the side. So certainly one important question to answer about this that is, because it is supposed to be sort of narrow and able to get into sort of a smaller trench than a standard, even a small plate compactor, is the size. And it is 16 long by basically 15 wide. So it's almost square. It's a little bit triangular. So, you know, you will want to be using this in a trench that you're at least digging with probably a 24-inch bucket. It'll be a tight fit in a 20-inch trench even for this one turning around. But it turns around, obviously, that's the whole point, is it turns around at the end of a trench, which a normal plate compactor just doesn't. So you either have to get a reversible, or you gotta fight it around, or chain pick it, or something like that. Whereas this one, you know, you come to the end of the trench, and I don't know if you sort of saw me before, I was thinking, it's like, you can just turn it around, basically in a circle, even especially when it's running. So if you are in a narrow 20-inch trench, it's really easy to reverse it and go back the other way. Few cool features of this one is it's got these wheels, which have a storage spot up top. And basically, if you want to move this around by hand, you just pull the cotter pin, wheel in. I'll get the other one. Lift it up, and there you go. It's you got yourself a little wheelbarrow. So really, really great. This thing is just under 200 pounds, like 175 pounds, give or take. So it's kind of heavy, but I've rolled this up truck ramps in the bed of my truck. A lot easier doing that than scooching the plate compactor up the up the ramps, which I've had to do that too. So yeah, so you know, the wheels are obviously super handy. Probably they'll get lost or broken or something eventually before this thing dies, but that's just how it goes. So, one problem with them, which is easily solvable, is when they are in the storage position, when you're working next to a house or next to an object, which is often what I use this for, is sort of bordering what I'm working before I run, a bigger roller compactor or reversible plate compactor or something, is that they do stick out quite a bit, especially, here. So you're standing behind this and you're running it and you're going up towards the building, you're going to hit this before you get to the edge. So you do want to just basically toss those off to the side if you're trying to work tight towards any building or anything like that, because they will get in the way. That's, the run around. I mean, for me, using this thing, it's the right height for me, and I'm 6'2", and I don't lean over when I'm using it. It's really easy to guide. When you're standing back here just going forwards, and it's so easy to turn. You can just grab it by hand, just give it a little twist. If you need to, you can twist it like this, and really you don't even you're not holding on to it at all. It just goes. It stays in a straight line pretty well. So you're just kind of giving it little quick corrections. The anti-vibration is obviously a really important feature of anything like this. You're gonna be standing around. You don't want to end up with the old white hands. So they do have good anti-vibe on here. I don't. If I run this, so I just did this. Took me about 20 minutes. Don't notice a single thing in my hands. It's really phenomenal anti-vibration. It does make it a little bit harder when you're strapping this down. You got to make sure you cinch that down, or it'll keep flopping, because there's so much give in these rubber pads. Because there's not only rubber pads here, but actually there's rubber pads between the engine mount and the base plate. So you can just see it's so floppy. Let's see, what else? Just from a compaction standpoint, I had a Whacker 1550, perfectly good compactor, really no complaints about it at all. I wanted this one instead. And I think it does basically the same amount of compaction. It's not a full-size reversible plate compactor. It's not a roller. It's just a small walk-behind plate compactor, and so that's what it's going to do. The impact force is actually pretty similar to plates with a bigger footprint. So depending on the circumstance, I think it can actually do a little bit more compaction in a single pass, just because it's sort of concentrating that similar weight on a smaller footprint. Which means it also does have a chance, like a ram or like one of those thumpers, it does have a little bit more risk of sinking if it's too wet, whereas the old plate compactor that I added at a bigger footprint would float a little bit more, and this one dives a little bit more. So obviously one of the big things about this one that I love, which I know some more modern plate compactors are starting to solve this, is I've got the tilt rotator, and as you'll see in clips I'll put in here, the ability to pick it with the gripper on the back of the tilt rotator is absolutely paramount for me. Being able to just have somebody in a trench and grab it and throw it in the trench, they use it, and I pick it and pull out, and they keep working in the trench, and I keep working above. Don't have to have me getting out or them getting out and put a chain on it, anything like that. It just saves a whole bunch of time that way. It does obviously get a little marred up because you're metal on metal, but that's to me that's a little scuffed up paint is worth the time savings. It's pretty it's pretty rugged, pretty durable. I'm not worried about bending or twisting this. I just have a small excavator, nothing big, just a 4-ton, which if you watch my other videos, I've got a review of that as well. Really not much more to say. I think it's a great machine, and super thrilled with it. So